Welcome to Ombi Headquarters. Today we've got a really special video for you. We are going to be talking about equipment. Equipment can help us with surfing, or it could work against us in surfing. So we're going to look at equipment through the eyes of a shaper, but also through a surf coach. And we are going to discuss the different lines that people take on waves and which boards you should be using, and also when should you change boards and what kind of board should you be riding. In line one, the surfer is intimidated by the steepness of the wave, so they want to take off from the shoulder, so they want a lot of volume and a lot of stability. Because of this, they're only able to access between 5 and 10% of the wave's energy. In line two, because the board's more refined, slightly more shorter with more rocker, they're able to take off on a steeper part of the wave. This allows them to go more up and down the wave face, and this gives them more access of at least 10 to 40% of the wave's energy. In line three, because the surfer's skill level has improved and the board size has decreased, they're able to generate speed and rush out onto the shoulder and then starting to do lateral turns. This enables them to use between 40 and 60% of the wave's energy. In line four, surfers are more comfortable and confident to take off in the critical part of the wave. This unlocks the wave's full potential, enabling them to use between 60 and 100% of the wave's energy. In line one, what the customer wants is to catch a wave, to stand up, to balance. So pretty much what it looks like is they paddle and they just stand up and they're very, very stuck and they surf very, very flat. These surfers only use about 5 to 10% of the wave. They're not using a lot, but it's enough to get them hooked where they come back for more. So we've identified 3 boards, and we're going to explain a little bit about each board and talk about the good aspects and the bad aspects about it. Now, these boards are great for what we call line one surfers. Surfers that want to be able to kind of stand up, get the balance, and maybe start learning how to trim across a wave. So if we take the soft top first, it's a lot longer, it's a lot wider, and it's also a lot thicker. So the benefits to that, if you're new to surfing and you haven't got the strength in the back and the strength in the arms to hold the postures when you're paddling, and you're a little bit weak to get out and to catch waves, that extra volume is going to be a godsend because it's going to help you catch more waves. In actual fact, the wave will probably catch you, in which case all you've got to do is learn how to stand up. Now, the benefits to this board, you'll also see that the rail over here is really, really flat. Now, the reason for that is that you don't want the board to flip. So if I put the board over here, for example, beginners, when they stand up, the wave's pushing them, there's a lot going on, and all they're trying to do is balance, and they're really messy and they're a bit wobbly. So the less responsive the board is to bad technique, the better it will be for them. So the board's wider through the center makes it balance better so they can stand up on the board. It's also thicker in the rail. A lot of problems when people are learning how to surf is that they're off balance, and sometimes they start leaning and turning from the hip and falling. So if this rail is going into the water and the rail is thick, it'll pop you back to neutral. Likewise, with the board being wide, it wants to continuously going back to flat, which means that this board is very stable and easy for someone learning how to surf to start to balance and to get length of ride. Now, if you're balancing nice and comfortably and you're surfing along and there's someone in your way, you're going to have to turn this board. Now, the best way to turn it is to move your head over the back foot, to pivot the nose, and to get a direction change. So you'll notice that you'll only be able to get ever a maximum of just shy of 90 degrees, otherwise the board will flip, because your fins can't turn 90 without the water hitting the fin and your board flipping. So you're going to be doing turns by pivoting off the tail and redirecting the board, which is great. But if you need to try to twist to turn the board, you probably find the board too big and unresponsive. If you try to lean to turn the board, it's too thick, it's too wide, it's going to be unresponsive. So you've only got that one method of potentially turning that board. So if we go now to a hardtop, you'll notice that this hardtop has got a much wider nose area. So what that wide nose does is that when you're paddling into the wave, it offers you stability that you can balance and take your time getting to your feet and take your time to kind of pick your line. So that's brilliant. The other aspect that you'll notice is that the rail is a lot more rounded, the board is slightly narrower, and the rail is not nearly as thick as the soft top. So let's talk about those aspects then. So where previously you're standing on a board and it's unresponsive, now if you shift your head over the rail, you'll probably find the round part of the rail will roll. The board's not as wide, so it'll start to turn a little bit more, and it will turn a lot smoother and a lot slower and a lot more gentle than that board that is just unresponsive. The problem with this wide nose area is that it can't do a tight turn. If it does try to turn quickly, water's going to hit this area and it may create a catch point which may make your nose dive if you're starting to ride slightly bigger or more hollower green waves. So what we do then is we jump onto a board like this. Now the biggest difference on this, you'll notice that it's got a round tail and it also has a more pulled in nose area. So the difference between a squash tail and a round tail is that with the round tail, the water starts pushing in a lot earlier, whereas with the squash tail, the water goes in a straighter line. This one will offer more stability when you're going in a straight line. This one will offer more turning, and it'll make the bigger board feel like it's a little bit looser and easier to maneuver. So if you don't have an issue popping up onto your wave and you want to start doing maybe a trim bottom turn where you can start going along the face of the wave, you're going to find that this has less of a catch point and that round tail is going to be so much more responsive than what the squash tail would be. So these particular boards are going to be helpful for balance, for control, and for starting to learn how to initiate your first sort of turns on the surfboard where you're starting to control the ride and where you want to go. So the takeaway, the surfer in line 1, they use about 5 to 10% of the wave. They need to learn how to pivot to turn that board. If they want to access the 20 to 40% of the wave where surfers are starting to go top to bottom, they have to downsize the board and get the board that allows them to take those lines. When taking those lines, you're going to need a board that enables you to compress, extend, but also start to do turns. That will give them that up to 40% range on the board, but their takeaway is they have to forget the pivoting off the tail and they have to start to figure out how to twist on the board and how to lean on the board. Because the board's bigger and longer, it gives them time. We would love your comments and we'd love your feedback. Write it in. We do look at it, and if there's something that you want to know in surfing, we'd be happy to shoot a video and explain it for you.